die off. It's going to always be that same rate. So deregulation, of course, made them nice money, and now they're not going to give that up. Those
No,
CEOs making those big paychecks, and
right.
it astounds me. These guys get 30, 40, $50 million a year salaries and bonuses,
Yep.
and their workers are on the line making $8 an hour.
Right. And this is why I say, like, this is why I made the video, and this is why I have issue with the $5 a mile, $1 a mile club. Is because the inflationary ramifications from that are just going to be passed down onto the consumer. If you go through and watch the video I made about that, this is where everybody forgets that if you want more, they're going to charge more because, like you just said, sir, they're comfortable with making what they're making. Tyson is not going to go through because the shipping cost rises 94%, which rises their transportation costs from 10% to 19% of their cost of goods, because the average cost in any good is about 10% of its transportation. So if you have a 94% increase, that takes it to 19%. What are they going to do? They're going to pass that 9% off onto the consumer. Why? They're comfortable making what they make. They're not going to take a loss. They're going to put it off on the consumer.
Well, would you guys agree that also, I mean, what other business that has access to the free market? I mean, retailers, mining companies, I mean, you name it. All of them are also in the same free market, quote unquote, like we are now, not being regulated, right? But yet they seem to be able to turn profits. And let's face it, Walmart, the largest retailer in the world, the richest company, one of the richest companies in the world, has access to the free market. Would you just say that maybe the people that we have in our free market are just not quite up to par for that, to really gain those big, you know what I mean? Because there are companies out here, like I think you and I talked about it, Cupcake, about these companies. How can you, instead of worrying about why I'm not making it, saying, how can I be the next Stevens Transport? How can I be the next JB Hunt? How can I be the next Schneider? You know what I mean?
Well, that requires
maybe I couldn't. Maybe I couldn't do it the same way they did because they started during regulation, and maybe they had a good head start. But are there companies today that started off with one truck and have 50 now? Sure, there are. You know what I'm saying? And how are they doing it?
Well, look, I can tell you this. So the company that I used to drive for, okay, and you know what? I'll put one out there for them. If y'all are in the Ohio area and you're looking for a good place to work, look up TransAlliance. They're out of Greenville, Ohio. I would highly recommend you go work for them. I worked for them for what, 8, 9 years? Well, 8 years? 8 years, something like that. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, they started off, Ben started that company with just a couple of trucks. And he started that company after deregulation. I want to say he started that company in something about like I think it was the 90s, if I remember right. And then now at the time it was Garber Ag, and now it's considered TransAlliance. He has, I think there's something like 50 trucks at the Greenville terminal. I think he has another 30 trucks out in Fremont, Nebraska. So if you're in the Fremont, Nebraska area and you're looking for a good job, go look up TransAlliance. And then now I heard from another buddy of mine that still works up there. He's in, they opened up a terminal in Minnesota.
Right.
This has all happened in a short time frame.
Sure, that's
because
what I mean. You're basically proving the point that there are people out here that are doing it. But again, this is where I go, is that this is just, I think trucking is just way too easy to get into. It is an easy thing to get into. Anybody with 10 grand and a 650 credit score can go buy a truck and a trailer. It doesn't mean they know what they're doing, but they can get into the business and run this freight for what they think, because, oh my gosh, a customer is actually giving me a load, a broker is giving me a load, and they're paying me X amount of dollars, and you know what I'm saying? I mean, again, the broker doesn't have any real motivation to necessarily get more money from the customer if the carrier is still taking the rate that they were taking in 2008? I mean, what motive do they have? I mean, it's just business as usual. Here comes the season again, and harvest is coming in, and now we're going to make this amount of money, and everybody gets used to it. But if the carriers go, look, you know what, I can't run a business this way, and look at what's happening. Like we were talking last night, we're starting to see less trucks out here on the road, and what's happening? The rates are going up because there's not a bunch of people in this doing,
Well,
just
it's
taking
like
the
I've
loads
been
out
saying.
whatever.
I said
Right.
for the longest time, know your operating cost, and if you want the rates to go up, get the rejection rate to go up. And look what happened. The rejection rate went to 10%, and the freight rates rose 8%, which the freight rates will continue to go up as much as the rejection rate goes up. They'll never equate each other because you have to have one ahead of the other. So you got to have the rejection rate is going to have to be higher than the freight rate because you're going to have it rejected for it to turn around and then for them to raise the rates. So, I mean, and that's what it is. Like, it's already there. It's happening, And yeah, as we remove the overcapacity problem, which it was basically started by the ATA's bullshit of constantly saying that we have a driver shortage, which was the biggest farce that's ever been put on the trucking community, because if we had a driver shortage, why do we have so many of them out here with 120 to 130% turnover?
Right.
I mean, inquiring minds want to know. You know what I'm saying? Like, here it is. It's pretty simple. If you go through and you tell them, no, I'm not hauling the load for $1.80 a mile, and everybody else says, no, I'm not going to haul it for $1.80 a mile, the broker has to go back to the shipper and say, I can't move your load for that rate. Now, I've got
exactly.
3 other drivers over here that said that if you will give me $2.25, they'll move it.
Right.
And then the shipper has to make a decision.
And you
Do
know what
I want to give him $2.25 or do I want to go try with another broker?
And the crazy thing is that even if you went up that much, even if you went up 10% on the rate, they're not going to pass it on to the consumer. They're not going to, I mean, it's not going to be that much difference between whether they're making, because like you said, their profits went up, and obviously they're there to maximize their profits just like everybody else that's in business is trying to do. So, I mean, is it going to be, now, if you're going to force them to be at $5 a mile on every single load that they move, yes, you're right. I agree with what you say that you guys better get ready to pay, $4 for a head of lettuce. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because that is a huge.
The math don't lie. The math don't
It
lie.
doesn't work. Well, and any
just think about
business
it.
person would understand that because nobody in business would be for that because they go, yeah, it may benefit me here, but it's going to come around the back and bite me in the ass. You know what I'm saying? Because everything's going to cost me a lot more too. So I might as well. I mean, what $5 is going to be today is what what $5 is going to be tomorrow is going to be what $2.50 a mile today is. You know what I mean? It'll eventually catch up, and everything's going to be back to the same.
I don't know if you watched the video that I did where I brought that math out there. When you look at the cost, okay, if you look at the cost right now at $2.27 a mile, okay, you have, that's about, and you put that 48 cents, and we're talking averages here, okay? So before somebody else comes for me and say, oh, well, that's bullshit rate. These are average numbers that came out of the ATRI. They say that the average driver makes 48 cents a mile, okay? They say that the average cost to operate a truck is $2.27 a mile. That 48 cents is approximately 25%, okay? So if you go with you're going to try to keep the labor cost at 25%, or the carriers are going to you're going to lose carriers because why? Well, they can't afford to pay that higher cost at $1 a mile because you're now going to go way, way up. That now moves that cost to $4.40 a mile. So $1 a mile, there you go. So now you have that increased cost there. Well, that gets moved on to the consumer because you have right now the average cost or transportation cost of a good is 10%. Basically saying that, for every $10 spent, it costs $1 to move it. So if you go through and you have that 94% increase on transportation to go from 227 to 440 a mile, you take your 10% here, times it by that 90 or 94%, which gives you a 9.4% increase because it goes to 19.4%. Well, that cost is going to be, they're not going to absorb that. People are not going to do it. And the thing of it is this, you're going to have a 9% increase across every movement. So when we talk about heads of lettuce, okay, because there's a lot of us that are reefer people, the farmer has to grow it, but the farmer has to have diesel fuel for its tractors and combines and equipment, right? So they have a 9% increase in fuel cost. Because why? You're going to have that increase in cost to move the fuel to the farm. Now, you're going to move the product from the farm to the factory. So now you're going to go through, there's a 9% increase in cost right there, because now we're moving it from the farm to the factory. It has to be hauled on a truck usually. Now, so we're now at 9%. So now you're going to go from the factory to the distribution center, because Cisco, you know as well as I do, they take it, they send it to the, Del Monte or whoever it is. They wash it, they pack it, they put it in a box, they send it to a distribution center. Now, that's going to get moved from a distribution center over to a Kroger or a Publix or a Produce One or a Cisco, not spelled the same, but, anyways, then it's good. It's a food place that I know in the Ohio area. It's spelled SYSCO. So they basically do food for, so anyways, or Reinhardt, we'll say.
They're making their way around the US, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
So, but anyways, you go through, it's 9%, 9%, 9%. And by the time you get it from the farm, the fuel to the farm to the factory to the distribution center, and the distribution center over here to the consumer, that's 9%.
Yeah.
Because you're to get it to the consumer, you got to go from the distribution center to Kroger's or Publix or Meijer or the Piggly Wiggly, and then they've got to get it out to the store. So that's that's 36% increase right there, and the consumer's going to hit that because why? It's going to get passed from the fuel to the farmer to the factory to the distribution center to the retailer, and then you pay it to the retailer that 36%. So now you literally just took a $3 gallon of milk and put it to $4. Also, the carrier can make $5 a mile, or the company driver can make $1 a mile. And then what happens? Well, now you just went from $1,000 a month on your grocery bill to $1,360. How did that fucking help you? How'd that one work out for you? Oh, and wait a minute. Your tax bill just went from $23,000 a year to fucking $40,000 a year. So now you went from your $150,000 that you were going to make, you're going to pay $40,000 out in taxes. So now you're down to $110,000. You're going to have a 36% increase in cost of goods. So you might as well take that out as well. So we're going to take a third of that. So there's another $30,000 out. So I don't know. Now you literally just paid $40,000 and $36,000 to the shippers and the consignees and shit. How did that help?
Oh, let's add in the other part. So your tires are going to cost more, your oil's going to cost more, your fuel's going to cost more.
This is why I said a 36%. This is what I talked about, a 36% out of your $110,000 that you made.
Now add in all those benefits that companies give their drivers. Vacations, day layover, whatever the case may be, whatever perks and benefits and paid time off, vacations, holiday, sick pay, all that stuff. Do you think they're going to absorb that, or are they going to pass that on, or are they going to eliminate it altogether so the guy doesn't get anything now because he got his $1 a mile?
There you go. And the worst of it is this: the dollar a mile, $5 a mile club. They have nothing in their fucking shit that wants to do that covers guaranteed detention. Nothing. There's nothing in there that talks about accessorials being on a rate con. There's nothing in there that talks about owner-operator protections or training improvements for both drivers and carriers. I mean, like, at what point do we have to just take some accountability and just own your shit? And how about this? How about you just admit you don't know how to fucking run a business, and you need to go to the library and get you a business administration book and read it and pay 2 months worth of late fees so that you know what the fucking thing says.
You know, there's this other thing that I haven't heard addressed, and I'm kind of surprised about. I know we have predatory leasing laws, but
It's
I'm
in
really
there.
I'm kind of curious about what about these predatory companies?
As
What I
far as the
mean by
leasing
that?
side goes, the
Well,
lease purchase
leasing
you're talking about,
and
or
and the drivers too. There are so many companies now, and I was shocked because there for a minute I thought I might be losing my job, so I started hunting for another one. And as I applied to different places, it was like, oh yeah, you gotta, you get your way up here to our terminal. I said, I get my way up there. And he said, yeah, you got to buy your own bus ticket or your own plane ticket because too many guys come up here and then they don't stick around. They don't like what they hear and they leave. How's that my problem? But
maybe
anyway,
you ought to tell a different story.
I guess. Um, but the one that I laugh about the most was I'd never heard of this until just the last year or two. What's with this escrow nonsense? When did that become a thing?
So that's kind of gotten popular with Leander because the Leanders talked about it quite a bit. And, after talking about it with him and then seeing what he put out there on the video with the escrow, for a company driver, I can understand wholeheartedly with what he did because I think he had like maybe $1,000 worth of escrow from that driver that turned around and did like $10,000 or $11,000 worth of damage to his trailer, and basically just did it out of pure stupidity. He had been working for him for a while. This was a truck driver with 30 years experience that was 54 years of age and literally just decided to destroy this man's trailer. I mean, when you look at the video, it looks like basically an entire Conestoga kit has to go on there.
Oh, he's got to replace everything. I saw the videos.
That's what I
I'm
mean.
a follower. I'm a follower of his, just like
if
you. I watched
if you
your
were a
videos.
business owner, you wouldn't charge an escrow to a driver.
I've never heard of it
No.
before. It's something new, and the term escrow is so wrong. It is not what that is.
Well,
An
yeah,
escrow
I
actually
agree.
means you put it into account. It has to be separate. You actually get interest off of that account,
Yeah.
and if you're going to do it, and I believe
they-
probably Leander probably has this already set up that the day you leave, if everything's right, he gives you the money back.
He does.
Most of
He's
these
actually
places-
said that. Yeah.
Most of these
Yeah, he does
places
that.
are 30 to 45 to 60 days out. And good luck because they may not even be in business when the time comes for you to get paid back that escrow money. And it's not even escrow. Escrow really typically involves real estate. It doesn't actually involve trucking. It should be a security deposit, a damage deposit, whatever you want to call
Right.
it. That's
Right.
what that should be. That's not an escrow.
Right. The thing of it is this. I mean, he does. I will say this again, and I've seen he said it on the video. Him and I have talked about it. He gives the money back. And the thing of it is this. All that guy had to do was make a phone call to Leander, and they could have avoided that whole situation. But this is once again where I talk about communication, being a responsible adult, holding yourself accountable. And unfortunately, Leander had to hold this guy accountable, but he also is going to lose like $9,000 or $10,000 off of it because he only had like maybe $1,000 of the dude's money, and the dude went through and caused like 10 grand worth of damage. I mean, I understand. Look, when I look at the situation that we have of the driver pool that's out there today, and this has a lot to do with one, crappy pay that a lot of these companies are doing, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that we are not a skilled trade. This is why I filed a rulemaking with the Department of Labor to classify us as a skilled trade, so that we can remove a lot of this bullshit. We can bring better training. We can bring better pay, because being listed as a skilled trade is there. But when you look at the hiring pool that we have in trucking right now, how many times, and I've challenged people in the videos, how many times driving down a road or a highway in a day do you see people that are driving semis, watching movies, phone in their hand, not paying attention, foot up on the dash, swerving in and out of lanes, pulling out in front of people? I mean, I could go on all night on the list of that shit. How many times do you guys see it?
Oh, no, I drive local in Houston. Don't even go me there.
You know what I'm talking about then, sir. And this is the hiring pool that we have to. So I understand why they're charging it an escrow, as they put it, or as you said, maybe a security deposit or a damage deposit. Maybe naming it better would be a little bit more understanding for some people. But I completely understand. 100% I do.
The man, I really hate to go down this road. Okay.
It's a slippery slope.
Let's go back to the simpler times.
It's a slippery slope.
It is. It's very bad. Let's go back to the simpler times. And you've been around long enough, and I'm pretty confident that you can remember back in the day when we didn't have the luxury of having this multimedia outlet in our hand all day long. We used to have something
simple. Driving in 97. We had a CB.
We had a CB radio. We had payphones. We didn't have cell phones. We had payphones. You had to call and check in twice a day or once a day and let them know where you were. A lot of the times,
and we had a roll of these. You had a roll of these.
Yes, you had to. You had to. But even back when I started in '84, I mean, we were still 800 numbers. Most everybody had an 800 number. You just called the 800 number. It was toll free to you. It cost the company money, but that was their cost. But you called in once a day. You let them know where you were. They could see kind of how you were doing because they could follow along with your fuel purchases, and they would keep up with you kind of sort of that way. And if you needed,
we also had check calls. Remember a lot of times that you always had those 9 a.m. check calls or whatever. So a lot of times you would see the whole line of guys in the morning. Everybody's trying to. Yeah, I'm in Houston right now. My ETA is going to be about 3:00 today. Okay, bye.
Yeah, we would all. But that's when they switched the payphone bank from the dial-a-truck network that was on the wall to putting phones at the tables in the restaurant, so we could actually make those truck calls while we had a cup of coffee or breakfast, which was a brilliant marketing idea by the restaurants.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Call home, do whatever. And then again came the payphone cards. Oh my gosh, God, man, are you taking me down memory lane here? But yeah, I mean, back before then, what did people do? They listened to the radio, or they listened to a talk show like WLW or any one of those, and we paid attention to what was going on around us. We paid attention to the guy in front of us. We were courteous. This is the problem I have the biggest of. The courtesy is gone. There's no courtesy anymore. I deal with it all day long. I don't see courtesy ever with anybody. Hardly ever. It's very, very rare. Courtesy, something so simple as to back off. The guy came up behind you and he's passing you. Okay. He's matched out and he's maxed out. He doesn't have any more governor left, but you're neck and neck because he's no longer he no longer has that draft. Now he's fighting wind resistance and he can't pass you. He's struggling. He's going to outdo you eventually, but is it going to take 12 or 15 miles to do it? Okay, back the hell out of it. Drop your doggone, your cruise control down 1 or 2 and let the guy pass. He's going to pass you one way or another. Why on the world do you want to sit there and do neck and neck and do a drag race for 50 miles on an Arkansas 2-lane interstate and hold everybody and their brother up?
I can tell you, I literally watched this happen going up Fancy Gap the other day, and I was empty, so I was able to cook it and buck it right up. And I know it says left lane, no trucks, but I went out because they were going up the hill side by side, neck and neck. Right lane, middle lane, and doing like 45. As I went by, the guy in the right lane, I don't even think he knew the dude was next to him in the middle lane. Because he had his phone in his hand and he's staring down as he's going up the mountain. I put money on it. He had cruise control on it and an automatic. And it did all the shifting for him down to it. And he's doing this in the right lane. He's got his phone in his hand, looking at his phone. And this dude's in the middle lane. And they're doing this, neck and neck at 45 mile an hour up the mountain.
So let me ask you this, and I know this is going to be a sore subject, and I apologize ahead of time.
Come on, let's make some controversy in here. Maybe it'll bring some more people in. I don't know. Bring it.
So no matter what rules you put in the books, and no matter how many times you put rulemaking in the books or in the regulations, whatever, Congress is the only one that's going to ever pass a law. So everything else is a regulation. So we're at that point where whether it's FMCSA or Congress, doesn't matter. Either one doesn't matter. No matter what you do, you put these rules and regulations in place. How the hell are we going to enforce it?
Well, that is a very good question, sir. Because like the video I made about broker transparency, the rules are already on the books. The case laws that I said I was tired of spoon feeding these people all the information is there.
It's all there. It's all there.
The case law is there. The case law is there that's already set the precedent that you cannot waive a right unless it's explicitly stated. Secondly, when Leander made me go down my last rabbit hole, there's case law that supports his statement that no, you cannot waive someone's regulatory obligation. And by it being 371.3C, they cannot, you can't waive their regulatory obligation. They would have to try to waive it, and they can't waive it. So there's that. The blacklisting. There's case law that sets precedent that you cannot blacklist someone because they won't waive your regulatory obligation. So why in the fuck are all of them over there that are so worried about broker transparency? Why is it that everybody talks about cojones and courage and men are so fucking badass? I'm starting to believe, and well, I kind of know for a fact that it seems like we've got more badass females out there than we do men. Because it took a lady to go up against TQL. How many male truck driver owner-operators are out there if hauled for TQL didn't have the cojones to go against them, but it took Pink Cheetah to go do it?
Actually, I'm kind of guilty of that myself.
I'm just saying. I've never hauled for TQL. I never will haul for TQL. But this is where I say, if you want to know it so bad, why are you not filing for it? And when they don't give it to you, why are you not filing a complaint with the FMCSA about it? Why are we having to, and the thing of it is this, the broker transparency rulemaking that's on the books now, the only thing that thing does is go through and put a time frame on it that they have to give it to you within 48 hours. That's all it does. It does nothing else. It's all the same bullshit.
And what good does it do? So you know that they made extra $200.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. There's one other thing. It provides to where that they can electronically give it to you, which means by email. Well, I mean, so hold on a minute. We're all bent up about broker transparency here, except for the only thing on the rulemaking right now is they have to provide it within 48 hours and they can give it to you electronically. That's all you guys are getting out of this with broker transparency. How the fuck does any of that help? And the thing of it is this. If it literally states that they have to give it 48 hours, I mean, they still got to give it now. Why are you guys not filing now? If you're not filing now for it, what's to say they're going to file for it after the broker transparency rulemaking if it goes through?
I'm just trying to understand the broker transparency thing in the argument for it, because I'm sorry, as a business person, and I'm not much of one, so don't put me in that group. But I'm just saying, as somebody who thinks like a business person or tries to think like a business person, I make X number of dollars. What difference does that make? What difference does it make what I make? You accept something from me at a certain cost. I'm going to pay you this to do this service. Okay, I accept that. Okay, what difference does it make what I make after that? That's my business. That's not your business. And in this country, as far as I understood, that was all the American dream. You make your money, you do it however you have to. How do you think J.P. Morgan got where he was?
Exactly.
It wasn't because of transparency. The man was smart.
Yes. Well, this is the thing. They want everything spoon-fed for them. See, this is the thing. And I've tried to say this because I also own a construction company. So I look at it like this. I do a lot of tile work when I do it. I do, kitchen and bathroom remodels and stuff like that. And I will have contractors reach out to me and have me give bids and quotes for tile work or cabinets or whatever. I love finish work. I hang drywall, but that's not where I shine. I shine in the finish work. So, laying down 5 levels of mud on that drywall, it's going to be slick as glass when I'm done. I promise you that. And it's going to be like flatter than flat. So, but anyways, when I go through and they reach out to me and they say that, I come out and I sit down and I have a conversation with them and stuff like that, figure out exactly what it is that the customer wants. And then I go through and I go home, I write out a proper bid, and I submit that. I don't go back to the contractor if I win that job. I don't go back to them and when I find out that maybe if I charge the contractor $30,000 to do a tiled walk-in shower and fully tiled floor and a kitchen and a bathroom, and I say, well, I submit a bid for $35,000, and I find out that he charged the customer $45,000. I don't come back to him and go, well, I want fucking this. And I also, though, don't go back to him the next time and say, hey, I want $42,000 now because I know you got 45. The thing of it is this, I also don't go through, and I don't go through when I lose the bid, because that's what happens a lot of times in trucking is that you go through and you say, well, I'll move it for 3, and somebody else says I'm going to move it for 250, because carriers are their own worst nightmare. You talk to any of these broker friends of mine, they watch this cutthroat nonsense from carriers cutting each other all the way down. It's not brokers cutting, it's carriers doing it to each other. And the thing of it is this, if I go through and do this and I say, and I know what it was, and I go through and tell him I want to do it for 42, I guarantee you there's somebody else that's going to come back and they're liable to walk in there and say, I can do it for 37. And he's going to take the 37 all day long. No different than these brokers do. If I call into a broker and say that I'll move that load for $3 a mile and somebody comes in and says I'll move it for $275 because I told them no, I won't move it for that. And they say, well, we can't do it. Well, what happens? 99% of the time, somebody's came in behind me and moved that load for cheaper than what I moved it for. And that's how that happens. And it doesn't matter. Yeah, you won the bid. You might know, but that just because you know that they made $4 a mile or $5 a mile off that load that you just hauled, when you go back to them the next time and you try to get more money out of them, there's liable to be somebody that's a carrier that's going to come back through and say, I'll move it for less. It happens now every day.
You remember way back when, I'm sure you do. Well, maybe you do. There used to be this thing called the Red Book. And
I heard of it.
Yeah, back in, no, I don't know how long ago it was, but when I was driving, it doesn't matter. There was a Red Book, and this is before the internet and everything else. And there was just a list of brokers. And when you hauled produce, you had to haul, you would call it the Red Book. You would go in the Red Book and you would look up where you were going, and you would call the list of brokers that was in there. It was back in the day when truck stops still had brokers' offices in the truck stop.
Yeah.
Back when motels would rent out the first floor to any broker that wanted to have an office. And these guys would be, typically fly by night, but they were in there long enough to watermelon season's in Florida. Okay, we're going to go rent a room at the Days Inn, and we're going to move X number of loads of watermelons, and this is going to be our temporary office for right now. They had a permanent office, but they used that as a temporary office.
Right.
And you would walk in there, and that was how they did business. You'd walk in, and it was, oh, I remember you. You hauled for me last year. You hauled for me the year before. You always were on time. You always were a great guy. I can count on you. Yeah, I'll give you an extra 25 cents a mile because I know I can count on you.
Right.
That's gone now. There's none of that.
Well, I wouldn't say that, because I can tell you right now, sir, I literally just right before Thanksgiving, I had one call me. I wasn't going to run the week of Thanksgiving. Basically, I got home. I had hit a deer, needed to go to the body shop, get a claim and stuff done. So I went through, did the claim. I go through, and they call me, and we wound up coming to an agreement. They gave me exactly what I wanted to move the load. So,
well, I'm going to ask you respectfully. Please don't call me sir. I work for a living. My name's Alan.
Well, now that I know your name, I'll just call you Alan. So, but yeah, that's what I did. I mean, he called me. He said he needed a load move. A guy had bailed on him. I went through, and we wound up coming to an agreement on a rate, and it was $7 a mile.
That's
Because
awesome.
he called me, and he said, Mike, Cupcake, a lot of the ones I work with that know me pretty good, they just call me by my nickname, my road name. And, but he's like, man, I really need your help. And I'm like, yeah, what you got going on, Bubba? And he's like, well, this is what's going on. And I said, okay. And I said, what you got on it for a rate? He said, man, I already know this ain't going to work for you on this rate. So I already know I'm paying more. And I'm like, okay, so what are we talking? And he's like, well, I don't know. What's it going to take? And I said, well, where's it at? Where's it going? So I did the math on it, and I said, okay, let me see if I can find something, because it was going all the way to Binghamton, New York.
Hey.
And I had already made promises that I was going to be home for the holidays. So, and that's one of those ones where it's like, I'm driving all night Tuesday, unloading Wednesday morning, and getting beaten feet back home Wednesday night. So I was going to have to try to find a load out of Binghamton to get me back to Ohio to at least unload on Friday. And so I go through, I called everybody I knew that did anything over there on the East Coast. And I've got quite a few good brokers that I deal with, and they pull off the East Coast quite a bit. And couldn't find anything. And I came back to him and I said, look, bro, I can't find anything to get me back off of the East Coast. And I said, so I said, man, I'm not going to drive back empty. I said, that's just too much for me right now. I've had some repairs and stuff that have came up, and I don't want to drive home empty. And he said, man, I said, look, I'll put it to you this way. You're going to have to be better than $145 a ton, because I got to be profitable. I said, but my break even on it's $145 a ton. And he come back and he said, really? And I was like, yeah, that's where we're at, bro. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's a 200-mile bounce to get the load. It's a 680 mile to deliver the load. And then you're still looking at like 600 miles back home. I mean, it wound up being like a 1,480 mile run total or something like that. And he comes back and he's like, well, what if I can get you in the 150s? I was like, you get me in the 150s, I'll go get the load tonight. And he's like, I'll call you back. I was like, okay. He called me back and he says, all right, I can get you in the 150s. He goes, so what's it going to be? And I jokingly said to him, I said, well, bro, $159.99 still in the 150s, baby. And I even started laughing like I am now. And he goes, sold. I was like,
no
bro,
kidding.
I was kind of kidding on that. He's like, no, you're worth it. You're absolutely worth it. I know when I call you, that load is getting there. And sure enough, I said, well, I'm getting in the truck and leaving right now. So he said, when do you think you're going to be there? I said, well, I'm going to go to the house. I'm going to grab my bag, throw it in the truck real quick. And then I got to go get washed out. and then I'll be up there. So I said, I said, if I drive straight through, it's 3.5 hours to get there. I still got to wash out. So give me 4 hours. I said, I'll give you a better ETA once I get washed out. He's like, all right, bet. Got done getting washed out. Sent him a text. Hey, be there at such and such time. He said, cool, letting him know now. I pulled in. There wasn't no wait. I loaded up, drove all the way to, I got to Binghamton, New York at about 3 o'clock in the morning. I got about 3 hours sleep, unloaded, and went, grabbed a little bit more sleep, and drove home. And I was sitting at home Wednesday night at, I think, what was it, 9, 10 o'clock at night I got home. So, yeah. Yep. So, yeah. I mean, but if you treat your people right, you communicate with them, you do what you say you're going to do, a lot of these brokers and traders will work with you. So
well, that's building relationships.
That's it.
And I think that part of the business aspect, even as a company guy, you have to understand that part, because it's so imperative if you want to continue to keep doing the same thing. Did I lose you?
Oh boy, I think I lost my. Why am I not hearing anything? What the hell?
I don't know. Maybe because we're not talking.
I don't know. We can hear you.
Oh, how did my other headset? What the hell?
Oh, that's why I can't do lives. I can't do all this complicated electronic stuff.
Well, my headset, apparently the other one kicked on me and took this one away. I don't even understand. Well,
but that's what I'm saying. Even as a company driver, that's why it's so imperative for people to understand that the relationship is so critical. If you want to keep going back to the same customer, you want to keep hauling the same stuff, do a remarkable job for them. They'll remember you. And it really is, but it's so rare. It's not like it used to be. It's so hard to find nowadays when people actually remember who you are and what you do, unless you're working with a very small core group of people. And,
right.
and that's kind of the sad part. You know, back in the days of, like I said, I bring back the Red Book only because, you know, running produce, everybody knew you. You know, oh, so-and-so told me to give you a call. Oh, I know him. You know, it was like everybody knew everybody. It wasn't this big, you know, veil over your face. Everybody knew exactly who everybody was. You knew so-and-so. Oh, well, he does a great job for me. If he recommended you, you're in. You know, it was word of mouth and it was reputation. And I see a lot of that has gone a long way the other direction. The pendulum swung so far because there's so many people out there now. It used to be brokers were real a close-knit niche group, and now anybody with, you know, a phone and a keyboard can just be a broker. You know, as long as they go file for their authority and get their insurance, they can be a broker. It's sad, and dispatching services have made it even worse. What have you done about dispatching services? I'm curious about that.
You know, the dispatching services, there is some in the FOPT about that. The dispatching service side, and this is where I revert back to the rules about a broker and what is considered a broker. And this is where, like what you said, sir, if we bring in even more regulation, okay, the enforcement of it, there's already rules and laws on the books about the dispatchers. The problem of it is with the dispatching thing is you have lazy operators. They don't want to make phone calls. They don't want to book their loads. All they want to do is be an owner operator and drive the truck. They don't want to have to do their numbers. They don't want to have to do any of that shit. So they're
not being an owner operator. I'm sorry, I'm going to disagree with you there. They're not an owner operator. An owner operator will get underneath his truck on the weekend and grease his truck. I see these guys pull into I'm sorry, I hate to say it, and I'm not being negative, but it irks me. I see guys go into a damn truck shop and get a mud flap put on. Are you kidding me? They're not owner operators. They are
I
lease
know.
purchase rent a rides. That's all that
I,
is.
well, and this is where I say, I mean, you know, I look at it, it's because of the laziness. They don't want to make the phone calls. I mean, think about it. If you're an owner operator and you're under a dispatching service, all they're doing is you're paying them 5 or 10%, whatever it is, to call brokers or call shippers or traders that they might have. Well, I don't know. I believe a dispatcher can only call a broker. I don't know if they can call shippers. I'd have to look that up now. I'm not sure how that rule goes. But either way, it's basically they want to be a company driver with owner operator privileges. I mean, because that's all they're doing. But this is why you see all these these other businesses popping up where they tell you, oh, we'll monitor your money for you. So you can go through and they're guys and gals and they'll pay a company to take care of their finances. You know, they'll send in their receipts, they'll send in whatever the case is, and then they take care of their bills. It's not like it's an accountant. This is just a company that files your IFTA for you and makes sure that your other stuff goes right, and then it handles your invoicing for you and stuff like that, like factoring companies and stuff like that. And then you got the dispatching services because they don't want to call a broker. And then you got, and it's because people don't want to do it or they don't know how to do it, but they want to be considered an owner operator.
Let's break that down for a second. I'm glad that you brought that up because that was another sticking point of mine. So IFTA, in all its craziness, IFTA used to be any state you went into, you had a separate form you had to fill out. Okay, and then became the International Fuel Tax Agreement, where we got one sticker instead of having 40 stickers on the side of your truck. You only had to have one, and you could get fuel anywhere. Even in Oregon, though Oregon was the last one to finally go along with it.
Right.
But you could just put a sticker on the side of your truck and you were good to go. Indiana was another one that was really hard to get one over because I still do that. You got to give your ICC number or your MC number at the pump in order to get your fuel discount. But the crazy part of it is that it seemed like very few people really understood how IFTA worked. And I get it. You're busy. You want to just get your load and go and make your delivery and get the next load and go and make your delivery and make your, and do the next thing and go. And that's great. But you're not running your business. Somebody else is. All you're doing is driving. You're not running a business. And as an owner operator, you're running a business. You do all the maintenance, or you try to do all the maintenance because, hey, at $150 an hour, it's really expensive to have somebody grease your truck. It's simple things that you could be doing yourself. Have you checked your wheel end? Did you check your lug nuts? Have you checked the wheel seals? Have you checked are your spindles okay? Have you gone underneath there and seen what's going on? I mean, if you're counting on somebody who's paid minimum wage to crawl underneath your truck and tell you it looks okay, are you serious? That's a hell of an investment to let somebody else.
I can tell you, the only time that I pay someone to grease my truck is if the 10,000 mile mark rolls around and I know I'm not going to be home. I will pull into a TA, a Pilot, a Petro, and ask them to lube truck and chassis trailer. And the reason being is this, and Rocky and I had this conversation earlier today. I would much rather spend the $40, $50, or the $100 that it's going to cost for me to pull in there and have them grease my truck than get a grease gun, all that dirty mess inside my truck, because I don't have the storage that I would like to have on this truck, but it is what it is. So, but I would much rather spend that, though, than to wind up having to spend, I don't know, we'll say, kingpins for this truck are expensive as hell. I think they're like $1,500. Steering knuckles are somewhere in the vicinity of about $2,000 for this truck. An axle, I could probably buy one out of the junkyard at like Vanderhaeg's or something like that if I had to. But I'd much rather just spend the $40 or $50 and let them grease my truck. you know. Now, if I'm home, yes, I spent the money. I've got the nice Milwaukee battery operated grease gun, and I spend, an hour or so going through and greasing this thing from front to back, fifth wheel, everything. I drive down, I grease my dolly legs, I grease all my S-cam tubes and slack adjusters and all the stuff on the trailer, and then I come back home. I do it. So
my problem with that, and I'm only going to say it from my point of view, and please don't take this as my go-to, but me personally, I want to know what's going on underneath. I can't trust a guy who's making whatever to go underneath my truck, grease my truck, because I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a Love's or a Petro or a TA or a Speedco, and they've missed Zerk fittings. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've gone in there and they haven't greased crap. They've only greased the ones they could see real quick, and they got, okay, you're done. No, I'm not.
No.
You didn't even jack up the front end when you greased my kingpins.
And that's why I stand there when they do it. If I have them do it, I stand there and I watch what they do. I might not be allowed in the bay, but I'm going to stand there. And yeah, if you didn't jack my axle up and to where when you grease my kingpins, you're going to do it again, because I'm not going to pay for it.
Exactly.
If you didn't do it right, I'm not going to pay for it. And I will talk to the mechanic, and I will say, hey, did you do my throwout bearing? Well, you better get back underneath there and do my throwout bearing. Did you do all 3 grease zerks on my dolly legs? What do you mean 3 grease zerks? There's one on the gears, and there's one on each leg.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Like, did you do all of those? I didn't know, but you better go do it. I'm not paying for it. I paid for you to lube my truck, trailer, and chassis. So make sure you get it done. Now, I will say this, and Rocky and I talked about this earlier. I will go through, if I have them do that, and a lot of times, because they're over the pit, they don't want you to unhook. So I will gladly, I will walk inside. When I check out, I grab 4 of the grease packs, whether they're Lucas or whatever they got there. I will pull out, drop the trailer, pull forward, 4 grease packs on my 5th wheel, right back up underneath the trailer, hook right back up. And the way I look at it is this: me spending that time and that money when I'm out here, because, sometimes I'm out for 2 or 3 weeks, and you know what? Well, when that 10,000 mile mark hits, I want to get it greased, because I'd much rather spend the 40, 50, or $100 for the grease than the $6,000 I'm going to need for new kingpins and steer knuckles. You know what I mean? Or, you mess up the S-cams, or you mess up a slack adjuster, or, you have tie rod ends that are screwed up. I mean, that's 100%. So I ain't heard from you yet here, Matthew.
I feel terrible. I feel like I've monopolized your entire time, and I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, bro, you're fine. I'll sit here for 5 hours.
What you guys are saying is actually everybody needs to pay attention. I've been saying it the last 5 years. The core values of trucking, what trucking is really all about, have changed dramatically. The pendulum has swung from what it was to such a severity of what it is. I was talking to a guy yesterday, just had actually, Mike, I both know him. His name is Sam. Mike is actually best friends with the guy. And we've been having a off and on conversation for a couple of weeks. And he says, listen, there's something that you said that I didn't even think about until after you said it. And I haven't heard it for a long time. And so I'm not sure exactly what it said, because I say a lot. And he says, you were talking about what trucking really is. He says, they really got me thinking. And I said, well, when you really look at the core values of trucking, it's a service. You're being of service to 330 million people. Everybody that gets into trucking now thinks they're getting into this, big money making scheme, and it's really not it. Trucking is a place for the unwanted, people that don't fit in, people who love to always be on the go. But in overall, when you strip it down, it's simply a service industry. You are the responsible for the schools that you drive by, the kids that are eating every day in that school, the nursing homes and the elderly that are eating there, the medication, hospitals that you drive by every day. And if the trucks didn't run, that's all those people suffer. This is strip away everything, nothing more than a service industry. You just get to be kind of a get to go anywhere kind of person.
Right.
We don't
really, and it takes, but that's gone. And everybody that gets into it now, we're seeing it. It's all over the place. In fact, I've been watching it for the last 2 decades. We deserve more money. Why do you deserve anything? Volunteer firemen every day of their lives put their lives on the line, men and women, voluntarily to do a service for a community. And, not that trucking should be a voluntary service, but you're doing a service. You're providing a service. You're being of service. Why do you think you're owed? And this is stuff that you should have been taught before you even sat in that seat for the first time.
Well, that's called entitlement. That's what that amounts to, is entitlement. And they feel as if they're entitled to this enormous pay or whatever. But, it's kind of funny where, I hear this one a lot of times of, well, we don't make the same money that we made back in 1979. Well, you know what? Old Texas trucker Jamie, he challenged me on that one there in a comment the other day on one of the videos. I went and looked it up just to verify what my thoughts were. The average truck driver in 1979 made $15,000 to $30,000 a year. In 2026 money, that equates to $66,000 to $138,000 a year. The median average for a truck driver is $72,000 a year. So if you do the math, that's $6,000 more than the other. If you want to make the 138, go work for Walmart. Talk to old Uncle Mad Max out there. I think he's Arizona, New Mexico area, somewhere out there. He works for Walmart. He's very popular on TikTok. He makes videos all day, every day about how much money you can make there. And I believe we just seen advertisement for $137,000 if you go work for Walmart. Yeah. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but $137,000 is pretty close to $138,000. I mean, give me a minute. I'm going to take off my socks so I can use my fingers and toes to count.
Oh, God.
I'm bullshit.
When I started in 1984, I made 18 cents a mile. 18 was what I made then. So you figure it out. But the cost of living and everything else has gone completely through the roof. Taxes, blah, blah, blah. That's where we are. I mean, I sold my truck. I bought a house, which is weird because everybody usually buys a house and then buys a truck. I sold a truck and bought a house. It's a long story. Anyway, now I run local. I'm home every night, and I run local, heavy haul every day, and I make a little over 110 a year. If everything works right and I get all of my pay and I get my holidays and my bonuses and blah, 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 that's about what I make, 110.
So,
and you would think that's great money. I thought it was fantastic money. You know what? I struggle every week. I live paycheck to paycheck. I still don't make enough money I make just enough. I make. Let me put it this way: I make enough that I can survive just fine. But God help me if my car engine blew up. I don't know where I'd be.
Right. So they say when I did that little video the other day, I think it was 1980 equates to like $4.74 in today's money. So if you take that 18 cents that you made back in 1984, and we'll just say we're somewhere close to it, that's almost 80 cents a mile. So I don't know how many miles you're driving a year, but if you're making 110 and you're running local, you're most likely not driving that many miles.
No, I'm doing hourly.
Yeah, so
I get overtime.
Okay.
So I'm making, I really don't want to say this, but I'm making $30 an hour and 45 an hour overtime. That's where I am. And I get paid holidays, paid vacation.
Wait a minute.
Blah, blah, blah.
Wait a minute. Hold on. How did you're getting overtime? I thought truckers didn't get overtime because of that Overtime Exemption Act had to be brought over. Or did you just make sure that you went and worked for a reputable carrier?
No, I work for a reputable civil contractor.
Oh, well,
I
there you
haul
go.
heavy haul. And I made damn sure that when I got paid after 40 hours, I got overtime.
Oh,
I didn't go into
so
that.
you negotiated a contract like a big boy does when you go into a job. Oh,
duh.
That's a new concept for some people out here in this world. God
Duh.
damn. Way to go, Alan. You know how to be an adult.
The world doesn't
You don't
want
walk in and you expect you're going to get paid $30 an hour and that's it. I mean,
I'm
come
just
on.
saying.
If there wasn't perks to it, there wouldn't be any benefit to it.
Well, I'm just saying because of all the bullshit that I hear over there, that you got to have this, the government's got to do it, blah, blah, blah. Obviously not. Alan here literally just, oh, wait a minute, he's getting time and a half after 40. I mean...
And holiday pay.
Holy
and
shit.
You want
vacation pay. And
you want
paid
the
time off.
You want another government agency to come in, and this is what's just really disturbing. You want another government agency to be created and come into this industry. We already have 13 or 14 of them that oversee trucking in some nature, but you want another one to come in and do this new thing that they're trying to push, that everybody's trying to push anymore.
What's the most frightening?
Your eyes aren't open to the fact that we just had a group come in and show you that the government has literally misappropriated billions of tax dollars. We're seeing it all over the news again, a year and a half later, 2 years, with one state, just one, where billions of tax dollars have been misappropriated again. But you want to create another government. Those are government agencies that oversaw all of this. But you want to create yet another one to do what you should be doing all on your own.
Fire.
What's the most frightening sentence in the world?
I'm from the government. I'm here to help you. President Reagan, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. If you want to watch me run, and you want to see a 280-pound fat man run fast, come tell me that one. I will be flying down the road on my mower, Joe.
Hey, you don't even have to look that far. Look at Katrina and look at the FEMA and what happened there. I mean, good grief.
Yeah.
That was the biggest mistake there was ever. You got a guy who was he was doing horses. And he became the head of the FEMA, and suddenly he's the one in charge of FEMA, and he's going to dictate what needs to be where, when. Are you kidding me?
Go look at Western Carolina, Eastern Tennessee. Go tell them that the government loves them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Please, I want you to walk up to any of them that are still there and say the government loves you. You'll probably have a 20 gauge pointed at your face.
I wouldn't even dare to go over there. Yeah, it's insane, and
It's
that's kind
scary.
of where I am with all of this, and not to speak ill of anything that you're trying to do, because God knows I support you 100%. But I always wonder if we get everything passed and everything approved and all the regulations changed, what the hell changes? Are there going to be anybody to enforce it? Is there going to be anybody that's going to
That's
carry it out?
that's the problem is the
Well,
enforcement side of everything. The enforcement side of everything, and we have it in the FOPT Act. It's there, but if you look, enforcement is the key word that's used so many times in that act, because it's enforcement that's the problem.
But
And
there's
the issues
not.
that we're seeing with carriers and issues that we're seeing with brokers is because pre-COVID, everything was face to face. When you had something come up or you had an audit, dude, they came to you. You scheduled an appointment and you better be there. It was
oh,
face to face. They went through your paperwork. Now it's, oh, we'll send it through the internet. We'll take a quick look at it. And if everything looks good, you're good. Okay, well, how
I,
did you verify the address if you're not there in person?
Oh, let me
real
rephrase
quick,
that.
I gotta, if I can interrupt for a minute, because I have to admit I was wrong here. Um, you said 18 cents there, Alan, in 1984.
Yes, sir.
I was just wanting to verify myself, and I was wrong. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 18 cents in 1984, January of 84, is equal to 57 cents in November of 2025 money.
That's still respectable.
Well, but this is where they all try to say, we're not making the same money nowadays as we were back then.
Well, how many carriers do you see that are advertising 60 or 65 cents a mile?
ECM Transport does 63 cents. TransAlliance out of Greenville, Ohio, or Fremont, Nebraska is 58 to 63 cents. Plus, they also have a crap ton of great benefits. I will tell you that. They don't stop at 2 weeks on vacation. They do medical, vision, dental. They have a 401k plan. It's
Well, now
plus they do bonuses.
ECM wasn't that bought out by Yellow?
Well, no. ECM Transport's still around. I just watched a truck pull out of the Flying J here. So,
Wow, I really got that wrong, because I really thought when ECM, I thought they got bought out by Yellow, and that was right there in my hometown in Pittsburgh. I really thought that was.
so YRC might have bought the terminal. Now that's probably true.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. I could have swore they got a. I thought ECM went out when Yellow went out. I'm sorry, but back to what I was trying to say. You know, you talk about regulations and enforcement. I went through an audit, and I wasn't always a truck driver, believe it or not. I actually sat in the safety department one time for a little while with an oil and gas company, and
Okay.
what we went through with an audit. I went through 3 different audits. 2 of them I passed, and one of them I failed miserably. The 2 I passed, I had all my documentation, all my ducks were in a row, everything was great. The 3rd one, they came in and audited us because of roadside inspections. The reason they came in to do they came in to audit us is because we had too many failed roadside inspections. And it wasn't the member of the federal government that came in and did it. It was actually somebody that came in from the state on behalf of the government.
Yep.
So the state of Texas sent a person from DPS, Department of Public Safety. They came in on behalf of the federal government, FMCSA, and did an audit. And they went through everything. And the only things they were looking for were the guys that had actually been stopped and cited on the roadside. Had they improved? What had they done? What was going on with them? What was different? What was the same? And they wanted to see logs. They wanted to see receipts. They wanted to see everything. They wanted to match everything up to make sure we were now compliant or we were not compliant. Did we make any changes? Did we make any improvements? Did we change any culture? That was what they were looking for. Nowadays, I don't know what goes on, but that was what happened back in 2015, 2016,
That was
2017.
that was pre-COVID. After COVID, when COVID hit, all audits went to a computerized system. Basically, the auditor sent you an email, sent you, and said, "Listen, you're under audit." And no face to face, and it's still that way today. It still exists this way today. Brokers,
Oh, yeah.
carriers, owner ops, all of it. This is how it works.
No
They
kidding.
send you an email, and they say,
Yeah, there's no
"Listen,
face-to-face."
Your 6 month, your 6 month probationary audit is right around the corner, or your first audit, your first time audit. This is when we're doing it. Please have such and such, and they'll list the forms or whatever they want as far as paperwork, the number of days per logs, and whatever it is, and you electronically send it to them.
Holy
And
cow,
as
that
long
was
as
so
you-
different
as
than what
long
we
as
did.
Oh no, absolutely. When we did it, it was a different ballgame. When
Yep.
my first audit as an owner operator, and it was my first one, which scared the crap out of me. But my first audit was one of the most respectful gentlemen I ever met. Knew a lot about trucking. Really helped me on the owner operator side because I was a company driver for 20 years. So, and I wanted to take the next step, so I did. He come in and he says, "Okay, we're going to look at all your files." So I reached over to my cabinet and I opened all the drawers. And he went top to bottom. He went, "Do you have your own safety program?" And I said, "Well, I'm only one truck." He said, "But do you have a safety program?" I said, "I don't have one in place." I said, "I have my standard of safety for my truck, but I don't have one in writing." He says, "Okay, well, we're going to stop right there. We're going to build one right now." And he simply said, "Just create a file." He said, "Watch a video, and there's videos everywhere that are MCSA, DOT approved. Go watch a video once a year. Put in there that you completed on such and such a date. And that's your safety file." That's basically all safety really is. Making sure you're up to date with the regulations, the rules, the truck, the equipment, blah, 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 blah. But we went through my entire filing system. And he looked at me and said, "The only thing you're missing is safety. You've got your equipment in line. You said your logs are in line. All your paperwork's in line. Your billing's in line. Everything's in line. You're good. You just needed that safety file."
Right.
But it was
Right.
face to face. They came to my address, parked in my driveway. I started a pot of coffee. We went through everything. Everything was verified in person with, and they had a standard. He had it right in front of him. An entire list of what we were going through that day. Now, you don't even have to. Heck, you could be sending an email to, a Google address with AI in there, and I've already started dealing with brokers that are using AI. And literally, the broker's dealing with AI sending them paperwork, and you're not even dealing with a human being.
I love listening
Nothing's
to that
human
turbo.
being anymore. It's gone, which means there goes your enforcement. Your enforcement, you just eliminated all enforcement.
Well, and this is where that third party or third country or whatever comes into play, and that's another part that I have with this. We've got people that are outside this country running trucking companies
Yep.
that have complete hands off.
Yep.
And if there's no physical address for them to go to do an audit, how in the world's that going by? Now you just explained it.
Yeah. Well, this
Well,
is where
we're
one of
seeing
the
that. That's why you see the number of brokers that are going through the roof, is because they're coming from out of country and setting up shop in the U.S., but they have no physical address. They're using a Google address, and they're setting up business. We're seeing it left and right. You see them on TikTok all day long. These brokers that are from anywhere else but the United States, that are setting up shop here and dispatching loads from 2,000 miles away, and don't even know where Nebraska is. Oh, where's my?
Oh, Art, I agree with you. We definitely do need to work on the more control on foreign carriers. I mean, that's like that's why I will say, like, in our FOPT, if we were to get that onto a congressional member's desk, okay, and I already know there's going to be concessions that are going to have to be made, because you cannot have your cake and eat it too, which means you don't get 100% of what you want. But one of the things that I would probably have to say that I would bite my teeth into the most and not get rid of would be the unique identifier requirement for anyone with a DOT number. A unique address and a unique phone number. And the reason why is because of the virtual office that goes on and the phone server banks that are going on with these foreign entities that are booking freight and having and operating as carriers based off of an address that has 40 other DOT numbers on it. I just
Glendale, California comes to mind.
Exactly. They're in Chicago. They're in Cali. They're in Texas. They're in the big urban areas. You know, the urban cities. I've heard there's quite a bit that goes on in Florida area, and like Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, Miami. A lot of that has to do with the fact that there's a lot of vacant buildings there that go for cheap. I hear that people will go in and buy them and then turn them into a virtual office. And they'll have 30, 40, 50 different business entities that are supposedly out of that one office, you know, and it's insane to me. You know, we shouldn't have people that are in, I don't know, Uzbekistan, if you will, that are brokering freight in the United States. I mean, what happens if they fail to pay on the load? And then, I mean, is there any recourse with them? I mean, it's not like an American company. You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you going to do that? You know? I mean, at least with TQL, you can drive to Milford, Ohio and go straight to their office, you know?
If I can, I'm going to share with a really stupid move I made. My wife and I were working on the load board, and we found a quick, $2,500 load. It was a combine. It had to go from point A to point B to the Port of Houston, but it wasn't going to actually the port. It was going to a freight forwarder, blah, blah, blah. It's going overseas, yada, yada. Okay, I've dealt with that before. No big deal. So, it's oversized, it's heavy, it's tall, it's wide. I get all my permits. Everything's in the rate con. It paid ridiculously well, which should have been my first flag. It paid well. Should have been my first flag, but it wasn't. I went ahead and I was like, cool, we actually got a decent load. That's great. And we hauled it. And then the guy disappears. He's gone. Never got paid. Nothing. I hauled it for free. I didn't haul it for free. I went in the hole because I had to pay for all that shit.
Yeah.
So I lost money hauling. And then, the guy is not from the USA, of course, with the US DOT number. He's from, Czechoslovakia or God knows where. And, that's it. You got no recourse. You got no way to fall back. You got nothing. You go to file on his bond. 400 other people have filed on this bond already. You're 35th in line. Good luck. And you can't because the guy's bond is so overwhelmed. And he only paid, on a, how do they call that? He just paid a percentage of what he wanted to use. So he wasn't paying us $75,000. He only paid like $300 for the month, just so he could haul or he could broker freight. It wasn't based on the true $75,000 that was in there. So, I'm standing in line behind 30 other guys that are waiting for the same money. And they owe way more money to them, so I'm bottom of the totem pole. I get nowhere.
Yeah, and I think they have. Well, if I'm not mistaken, the broker act that is supposed to take effect this month, that has to do with their financial responsibility.
16th.
Is it the 16th of this month?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew it was sometime this month. I didn't know if there was an exact date. But that's supposed to be somewhat rectified. There's supposed to be reporting now that goes on, from my understanding of what I read, to where that if your bond has fallen below that mark that they've set, they're supposed to suspend your operating authority until the managing entity sends them notification that you have come back up to that level you're supposed to be at. So I'm not too versed in that though. So I wish I was a little bit better on that one. I haven't looked into it too much as far as that, because I really haven't got into the insurance reform side for the rulemakings and stuff that I've put in. We've got the rulemaking for the skilled trade already submitted. We've got the rulemaking for detention already submitted. The rulemaking for the hours of service, 11-hour removal and just running on a 14-hour. And then we've got the other one that has to do with giving the option of paper log or ELD. So
I'm kind of curious. When you mentioned that, you brought up 100 other points to me. So, me being a rookie here, bear with me.
You're fine. That's why we're here to talk.
I'm just a newbie, so bear with me. But when you bring up, all of this, with the bonds and whatnot, like what we dealt with that guy, he had so many other people in front of me that had higher requests for a bond, and we got nowhere. I mean,
right.
Is there anything going to be in play for compensating everybody, or is it just going to be the guys that had the bigger the bigger claims?
Well, see, this is the thing. I mean, I don't think the new rule that came out has nothing to do with that. What we would like to see, if you read in the FOPT Act, is that there is the brokers actually have to have a better financial bond, and there has to be quarterly reporting involved with that. So, right now, and the reason being is because like what you talk about, right now there's no protections really out there, and I think it's only like a $75,000 bond is all they have to have or something like that.
That's
so,
it.
Yeah, or pushing for
75 grand,
or their bond will have to be equal to or greater than the amount of work that they actually do on a yearly basis.
Right.
So
if they do $150,000 worth of brokering a year, that bond would have to be for $150,000.
Right.
Well,
yeah, Cisco,
I don't know if
I'm glad you're back in here.
That's not.
Because
I don't think that's true. When I opened my brokerage, I just had to have a $75,000 bond. That's all they require. Now there are.
Well, no, we're
companies that
talking
go
about
above and beyond
future.
that.
Well, no, we're talking about we're wanting.
Future.
Oh, the future.
Wanting a requirement.
I
Yeah.
apologize. Sorry.
Yeah.
My
But
bad.
no, I want no, Cisco,
But it
because
was
you're in
10,000.
here and you are a broker.
They just bumped it up to
Right.
75.
Right. So I want you to talk about the new rule that they just brought in for the brokers and the financial responsibility that's supposed to start this month. Since you are a broker, you're going to know more about it than the rest of us. Well, I mean, what exactly is what are they saying with that?
I'm going to be honest with you. I have not received any information about that at all.
Shit.
Nothing. I have not received anything from anybody about any of that.
Really?
That's why I'm going like, what does this even mean? Like, I've received nothing from the FMCSA. I've received nothing from my...
Art,
nothing,
could you come up then and talk about this? About the broker, the new rule for the broker? Because I know you do it. Are you able to come up right now, sir? Maybe he's got it. Art down in the comments. Because he's another broker as well. What is your question? Well, So we're talking about the new rule that's supposedly out there for the financial responsibility and the monitoring of it that they just did. That's supposed to start January 16th.
Wow, I mean, this is news to me. I'll be honest with you, there, Cupcake. I mean, I haven't received anything about it.
Cisco, you should go check that out because it's on the books. It's out there already. I don't know why you, as a broker, are not getting that information, but it is out.
Right. Gosh, and I mean, and I even deal with so many other brokers. I mean, just in trying to bid freight and where everybody's at, nobody's even mentioned anything to me about it. I mean, it's not even like, I don't know. It's interesting.
I didn't know they increased the bond at all. I just know that if you go to file on a bond, like what I did, when this guy stiffed me, there were so many people in line, I was like, there's no way I'm going to get any money out of this.
Oh, yeah. I see what he's saying. It's for the people who have the a trust, right? Is it for the people who actually $1,000 bond?
It's for brokers that have a
they have to have a
BMC
different
84
requirement. But if
trust.
you're going through a bond company, is that correct? Right, 84. It's a trust. I think that's what he's talking about. You know what I mean? Because you can put your money into a trust so you could basically put the $75,000 up yourself.
Okay.
So you're not paying the money to a bond company.
Okay.
But
okay.
that's why. Okay, I see what he's talking about.
Oh, a BMC I thought was totally different.
Which most do, yes. That's right. Correct. Yeah, he's correct. Art is correct.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's got some great information when I get him in the live, so that a broker can have either. Okay. There's two different bonds, BMC 84 and BMC 85, that a broker can have either or. Okay. Okay. All right. Learn something new every day, man.
And it's just how your bond is set up. It's just how your bond is set up. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to read
That's
it
what I'm
here.
saying. Like, if there's something across, you'll hear about it right away.
So, I mean, what I was kind of reading here, it's basically it has to be backed by liquid assets, I guess. Is what I'm reading
because
here.
you're putting up the $75,000.
But wait a minute. Don't these guys get carriers or insurance carriers, I should say, that actually prorate it, so you only pay for what you use? Basically, if you only want it for 30 days, you only pay for 30 days worth of service.
No, well, not. I mean, to what my knowledge is if you want to have your MC active with the FMCSA, you have to post a $75,000 bond. Whether that bond be through you have the money as in a trust. Basically, you put the money into the trust, the $75,000, and this is what I think Art is talking about. I think they manipulated that part of it, where people were putting up money and maybe they were doing something funky with it. Now they have to back it up with some kind of an asset. I can see that happening. But mine, I go through a bond company, and I pay that bond company every year based on my credit, my personal credit. They tell me how much I have to come up with. And nowadays, a lot of the newer brokers, if you're trying to start now, will make you either come up to half of the bond itself, not for the first year.
Oh crap, we're losing him.
5,000.
I think we lost Cisco.
Yeah, give him a minute. He might be trying to, I don't know, is he in a bad area? So what I was reading about there is it's still $75,000, but what they're saying is that it has to be either cash, U.S. Treasury bond, or a letter of credit, is what I was just reading. And basically that's what it is. But it's almost kind of like it has to be liquid assets is what the one term they used. Basically, it's almost like so it sounds to me like, and then it's also the FMCSA gets notified, and you have 7 days to get your stuff back up. So,
well, you know, I fall back to what I went through with that combine.
So
You know, I moved this doggone
broker
thing.
just don't have the trust, they have the bond, so this doesn't apply to them. Okay. So if you have the bond, then you're good. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So what happens in I'm going to use this as an example. So what happens in